Friend, let me sit down here with you and tell you something most people are too scared to even whisper about. I'm 80 years old, and I've learned more in these last 2 decades than I ever did in all the rush of my younger years. Life after 70 has a way of pulling the mask off things, stripping away the noise, and showing you what really matters. And one of the hardest lessons I had to learn, but also one of the most liberating, is this. Losing old friends after 70 is not the tragedy you might think it is. In fact, it's one of the greatest blessings life can hand you. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying friendship doesn't matter. Lord knows I've had companions who carried me through the darkest storms. Friends who lent me a hand when I had nothing left to give. Friends who drank coffee with me on porches, laughed until our ribs hurt, and held my secrets tighter than a locked safe. But here's the truth most people don't want to face. Not every friend is meant to walk with you to the finish line. Some are only meant to walk with you part of the way. When you're over 70, you stop pretending you have forever. Your days suddenly have weight to them. You don't waste them on people who drain your soul, gossip about nonsense, or refuse to grow old with grace. Losing old friends after 70 is life's way of doing housekeeping, clearing the clutter so you can finally breathe. I remember when I turned 70, I was crushed at how many empty chairs there were at my birthday table. Some were gone because life, cruel as it is, had taken them. Others were still alive but distant, faded into their own worlds. At first it hurt. I thought, what's wrong with me? Why can't I hold on to the people I once loved so deeply? But then, slowly, I realized nothing was wrong with me. Life was simply shifting me into a new season. You see, friend, the truth is, old age is not about collecting. It's about shedding. Shedding expectations, shedding regrets, shedding false friendships that no longer serve the person you've become. Think of it like pruning a tree. If you don't cut off the dead branches, the whole tree suffers. Your spirit is the same way. At 80, I don't waste my sunlight on dead branches anymore. And maybe, just maybe, losing some old friends is the pruning your soul needs to grow one last beautiful bloom. I'll give you an example. My buddy Harold, we were thick as thieves in our 40s and 50s. Beer buddies, fishing buddies, the kind of guy who'd help you move a sofa and never ask for gas money. But somewhere along the way, Harold turned bitter. He started complaining about everything: the government, his wife, the weather, his aching knees. Every conversation felt like wading through mud. After one coffee too many, I realized I left feeling smaller, heavier, gloomier every single time. So I made the choice no one ever wants to admit to making. I let him go. Not with anger, not with bitterness. I just stopped watering a friendship that was already withering. And guess what? My spirit grew lighter. My days grew brighter. I had more space for people who brought joy instead of complaints. Friend, here's what nobody tells you. It's okay to outgrow people, even the ones you've known for decades. Longevity doesn't equal quality. Some friends belong to the version of you that no longer exists. And if you keep holding on to them, you risk shrinking yourself back into someone you've already outgrown. And let's be real. After 70, time is the most precious currency you've got. I don't waste mine on people who don't clap when I win or cry with me when I lose. I don't waste it on people who call me only when they need something. I don't waste it on people who remind me more of the past than they inspire me for the future. Yes, I said the future. Even at 80, I still believe in having a future. You don't stop dreaming just because your hair's white. You don't stop needing real connection just because your bones ache. If anything, you need it more. But connection at this age has to be nourishing, not draining. You see, friend, people think loneliness comes from losing friends. No, loneliness comes from surrounding yourself with the wrong ones. I'd rather have 2 people who truly get me than 20 who just fill silence with noise. Losing old friends after 70 is life's way of saying, "Here, let me give you quality instead of quantity." And here's the funny part. The people who remain, the ones who survive the pruning, oh, they're golden. They're the friends who don't care if you repeat the same story 3 times in one afternoon. They're the ones who remember how you like your tea. They're the ones who sit with you in comfortable silence because the bond doesn't need words anymore. But beyond that, losing old friends clears space for something many people don't expect at our age. New friendships. Yes, new! I've met some of the dearest people of my life after 70. Neighbors I barely spoke to before suddenly became lunch companions. A young man from church started visiting me for chess games, and we talk about life like equals. Even at 80, I've made friends who make me laugh until I cough, and who remind me that my heart still beats strong. If I'd clung to every old friend out of obligation, I'd have missed these new treasures. That's the gift in loss. It opens space. It teaches you not to confuse history with destiny. Now, friend, I want you to think about your own circle. Who makes you feel alive when you're with them? Who makes you feel drained? Who are you holding on to just because you've known them for 40 years, even though the last 10 have felt heavy? If you dare to release those weights, you might just find yourself soaring lighter into your golden years. Because here's the real kicker. At this age, peace is more valuable than companionship. I'd rather sit alone on my porch with my coffee and the morning sun than sit with a friend who makes me question my worth. Solitude is not the enemy. The wrong company is. So don't mourn the friendships you lose after 70. Celebrate them for the season they served. Thank them for the lessons, the laughter, even the heartbreak. And then let them go with grace. Because what's ahead of you is not emptiness, it's clarity, freedom, and perhaps even the chance to meet a kindred spirit you never expected. Friend, take it from this 80-year-old man. Losing old friends after 70 is not a curse. It's a blessing disguised as heartbreak. It's life's way of making sure your last chapters are written with joy, peace, and love, not obligation. And that, my dear, is the sweetest gift time can give you. So raise your glass with me, and here's to the friends who stayed, the friends who left, and the new friends yet to come. Because no matter our age, the heart is always ready for one more laugh, one more hug, and one more story shared with someone who truly matters.
My dear friend, let me tell you something that will surprise you, maybe even shock you at first. At 80 years old, I've lived through seasons where my circle was bursting with friends, laughter, dinners, and noisy gatherings. And I've also lived through seasons where the circle grew smaller and smaller until I could count my closest companions on one hand, sometimes even just 2 fingers. And you know what? I thought it was a tragedy. I thought losing friends after 70 was the saddest, loneliest thing in the world. But now, sitting here with my cup of tea and these old bones that creak louder than my floorboards, I realize it was one of the greatest gifts life ever gave me. Yes, you heard me right. Losing old friends after 70 can actually be a blessing in disguise. I know it sounds cruel, like I'm cheering for heartbreak, but stay with me, because what I've discovered is that sometimes life takes people out of your story not to punish you, but to prepare you. And if you're around my age, or even just starting to notice your friendship shifting, you'll want to hear me out. You see, when you're young, you collect friends like a child collects seashells at the beach. Every shiny one feels important. Some are rough, some are smooth, some sparkle in the sun. And you carry them in a bucket, proud of how many you found. But as the years roll on, the tide comes in and out, and you realize not all those shells were worth keeping. Some break, some get lost, some never really had the beauty you thought they did. By the time you hit your 70s, life has a funny way of tipping that bucket over and leaving you with just a few shells in your palm, the ones that truly matter. At first, it feels like loss. At first, you want to scream, "Where did everybody go?" But then, slowly, you notice something magical. The people who remain, the friendships that survive, are pure gold. They're not the ones who gossip about you, or show up only when they need something, or pretend to care while scrolling through their phones. They're the ones who still look you in the eye, who remember your birthday without Facebook reminding them, who don't care if your hearing aid whistles or if your hands tremble when you hold your coffee. Those are the treasures. And losing the rest? Well, it clears the stage so you can finally see them clearly. Now let me be honest with you, I didn't always think this way. In fact, I fought it. I remember turning 70 and noticing the invitations slowing down. The phone rang less often. The poker nights fizzled out. My old fishing buddy moved to Florida and never called again. A few friends passed away. Others just drifted, like leaves blown by the wind. And there I was, left with silence. It felt like betrayal. It felt like life had pulled the rug from under me and left me sitting on the cold floor of loneliness. But then came a day, a small day, nothing special. I was sitting on my porch, staring at the empty street, when my neighbor, a widow named Clara, came by with a pie. She knocked on my door, smiled that gentle smile, and said, "Paul, I made too much. Thought you could use a slice." We sat together, we laughed, we shared stories, and for the first time in weeks, I felt something warm bloom in my chest. It wasn't about quantity anymore, it was about quality. Clara wasn't an old friend from high school or someone I'd known for decades. She was new, fresh, genuine, and she showed me something I'll never forget. Sometimes you lose old friends so life can make room for new ones, the ones who meet you where you are today, not where you used to be. That's lesson one, my friend. After 70, your friendships shift because you've shifted. You're not the same person you were at 30 or 40. You don't want to stay up till 2 a.m. anymore. Heck, you're lucky if you make it past the evening news. You don't want drama or fake smiles. You crave peace, honesty, laughter that doesn't drain you. And guess what? Losing old friends who no longer match your spirit isn't tragedy. It's pruning. It's making space for relationships that truly nourish you. And let me tell you another secret. This one might sting a little. Some of the friends you lose after 70, they weren't really friends to begin with. They were companions of convenience, work buddies, party pals, people who filled the air with chatter but never really filled your heart. When retirement comes, when illness comes, when tragedy knocks at your door, those people vanish like smoke. And at first it hurts. But later, you see it clearly. They were never meant to walk the whole journey with you. They were chapters, not the whole book. And that's okay. Not every character belongs on every page. Now, don't get me wrong. I've grieved friends who passed away. I've cried rivers for the ones whose voices I'll never hear again. That's a different kind of loss. But even there, even in that grief, I've discovered something strangely beautiful. Their absence teaches you gratitude. It sharpens your love for the ones still here. When you sit across from someone at breakfast and you realize how fragile it all is, you love harder, you listen deeper, you laugh louder, because you know tomorrow isn't promised. So why is losing old friends after 70 actually a good thing? Let me count the ways. First, it teaches you resilience. It forces you to adapt, to grow new roots, to find strength in places you didn't know existed. Second, it clears out the noise. No more wasting time on people who drain your energy or leave you feeling smaller. And third, it creates space for new beginnings, whether that's new friendships, new hobbies, or even new love. Yes, even at 70 or 80, your heart can still skip a beat. And fourth, it humbles you. It reminds you that nothing lasts forever, and that's what makes the moments we still have shine even brighter. I'll never forget a conversation I had with my son one afternoon. He saw me sitting quietly and asked, "Dad, don't you miss your old friends?" I looked at him, thought for a long while, and finally said, "I do. But I've learned that friendship isn't about how many people sit at your table. It's about who stays when the feast is over, and all that's left are the crumbs." He nodded, and I saw in his eyes he understood. That's wisdom I had to live 80 years to learn. And oh, my dear, let me sprinkle some humor in here, because what's life without laughter? You know you're getting older when half your friends are just the doctors listed in your contacts. Sometimes I joke that my social life is a rotating schedule of medical appointments. Who am I seeing this week? Ah, yes, Dr. Smith, great conversationalist, terrible at poker. But even in those jokes, there's a truth. As the old friends drift away, sometimes the ones who stick around are people you never expected. The nurse who remembers your favorite candy, the mailman who asks how you're really doing, the young neighbor who carries your groceries. Friendship wears many faces, and sometimes the loss of the old helps you recognize the gifts of the new. Now you might be sitting there thinking, "But Paul, isn't it sad? Isn't it lonely to lose so many?" And I'll be honest with you, it can be. There are days when the silence feels heavy, days when you wish you could call up your old buddy and laugh about that fishing trip when the boat nearly sank. But here's the beauty. You carry those memories with you. They don't die. They become part of your blood, your bones, your very smile. And when you tell the stories, when you pass them on, those friends live again, even just for a moment. And that, my friend, is not loss. That's legacy. Here's what I want you to remember. At 80 years old, I can say this with certainty. Losing old friends after 70 isn't the curse I once thought it was. It's life's way of refining you, of showing you the diamonds hidden in the dust. And if you open your heart, you'll find that what remains is not less, it's more real, more precious, more yours. So here's my advice to you, as someone who's walked this road with all its tears and laughter. Don't fear the loss, embrace it. Trust that life knows what it's doing. And when you sit down with the few friends who remain, or with the new ones who come knocking at your door, savor it. Because those are the friendships that carry you, not just through the years, but through the soul. And remember, my friend, sometimes the greatest blessing is not in how many friends you keep, but in the few you truly treasure.